On Chroma, there were many legends and stories, none as famous as Synthro. Synthro was a warrior said to possess incredible strength, speed, and technique. His fighting style was ever changing, and because he lived for a very long time, he could continue to change it as he learned new things during his adventures. However, before the days of Synthro, there was a warrior of similar style and reputation. This man was rumored to have trained Synthro when he was a boy, and many even considered him the only reason that Synthro is a household name on Chroma. This man was known as Reiyo. Reiyo was often referred to as the legendary Blade. While the nickname was rather strange, it was in reference to his weapon of choice, a black steel katana. Often people would recognize the weapon before recognizing the man. It was a symbol that represented Reiyo, and it would become a symbol that people would use to recognize Synthro as well. At a young age, Synthro was banished from the forest of the New Heaven and forced to survive on his own in a new world that was still being explored. Afraid and alone, Synthro traveled looking for answers, a place to stay, and food. As a young boy, it was hard for him to accomplish these things, especially without any idea on where to go. Eventually, without finding enough solutions to his problems, Synthro passed out on a dirt road. When he came to, standing above him was a tall, slender woman with sandy blonde hair. She was wearing black leather armor that had a belt holding 2 daggers, and she had a bow with a quiver on her back. Synthro would later learn this woman's name is Arissa. She traveled with Reiyo, and after saving Synthro's life, she would be the one to introduce Synthro to him. While in the forest of the New I always want to say Haven for some reason. While in the forest of the New Heaven, Synthro was an avid reader, and Reiyo was like one of the heroes from the books he read, coming to life. The truth is, Synthro's admiration for Reiyo and looking at him with that concept in his mind was not far from the truth. Reiyo was a traveling adventurer, that should be. Hold on. I wrote traveling adventure. He was an adventurer. Reiyo was a traveling adventurer who helped those in need for nothing in return. He defeated monsters, bandits, and the strongest foes Chroma had ever seen, and in most cases, he did it with relative ease. Traveling with Reiyo would help Synthro learn a lot about life in general, but Reiyo would be able to help him learn how to fight, how to become one of those legendary heroes he was only able to read about. Despite the madness surrounding him on Chroma at all times, Synthro finally felt like there was some hope in the world. That Reiyo could put him on the right path and show him how to make a difference on Chroma. Reiyo could easily be that role model for Synthro and teach him how to become a respectable person on Chroma. But the problems that would soon surface would not be because of Reiyo's teaching, but instead the unfortunate events of the world and the toll they would take on Synthro's young mind. Alright, so this is Legends Rising Synthro. If you live on Chroma, then you've heard the tales of Synthro. Synthro was a legendary fighter, unmatched in combat, and a master of many fighting styles. It was said that his reflexes were unlike anything seen on Chroma before, and it made him near impossible to hit. On top of that, the stories say that he lived for centuries, so many believed he was immortal. However, stories are just stories, and no one has seen Synthro in years. The rumors were that he found a way to gain access to the islands surrounding Chroma that were off limits to everyone due to the raging ocean around the continent. This would make sense, since there wasn't much left for Synthro to accomplish on Chroma. Synthro first showed up hundreds of years ago, traveling with a group of helpful adventurers led by a man named Reiyo. Reiyo, Arissa, and Hecton were 3 wanderers who would help anyone in need. They would travel from town to see what they could do to help the people living there. This led to them taking on all manner of quests and building quite the reputation of their own. What's funny with these stories is because I wrote these about a year, maybe like a year and a half ago now. The funny thing about revisiting these is the Synthro story has more information about Reiyo, and the Reiyo story has more information about Synthro. So like they probably should be titled the opposite, maybe. Maybe I'll have to switch that. This goes a little deeper into Synthro stuff, so maybe this is fine, but a lot of Reiyo's was just also about Synthro, but it's whatever. You get the gist. Reiyo was the predecessor to Synthro's legend. He was everything Synthro ever dreamed of being, and once the two met, Synthro knew that Reiyo could help him achieve those dreams. Reiyo took a young Synthro under his wing and trained him. Reiyo knew right away that Synthro's power was far beyond his, but knew how to navigate a young person with such extraordinary power. He was once that young person and never had a mentor like himself, so with his guidance, Synthro could become the greatest fighter ever and have values that would save Chroma no matter what danger they faced. There is always a but when it comes to these types of stories. I don't know why I emphasize but like that. That's going to stay in probably on the YouTube video. There is always a but when it comes to these types of stories on Chroma. Synthro could have been great for Chroma. He could have changed the world for the better, but the world betrayed him. You see, Synthro and Reiyo accomplished many outstanding feats during their time on Chroma. They defeated an invasion of demons, fought alongside Sanctivel to keep the Bawal Empire from trying to get singular rule on Chroma, and overall just made the world a better place with their heroics. Reiyo and Orisa fell in love. Hecton settled down in the kingdom of Azuldra, and even Synthro decided to put his adventuring days behind him, at least until the world called upon him. The reason for Synthro's sudden interest in retirement was a woman by the name of Anastasia. Stasia was the only one who could keep Synthro grounded and keep him happy and focused on making the world a better place. She was the perfect woman in his eyes, and helped keep him sane no matter what dangers he was facing. Unfortunately, Stasia got sick, and the healers of Chroma told Synthro it was a disease they had never seen before, and there was no cure. Synthro was tough on the healers. He had saved the world countless times, and he felt that the world owed him. The healers, on the other hand, told him the worst thing they could, that Stasia's disease stemmed from the planet itself. Furious with the world, Synthro wasn't sure what to do, but he knew he wanted to stay by Stasia's side for however many days she had left. She had always supported him and been by his side, so he would return the favor. The healers then heard of a flower on one of the highest mountains on Chroma, inaccessible to the average human, but perhaps the legendary Synthro could retrieve it. This flower was said to hold many healer properties and could be what they needed to save Stasia. That should probably just be like healing properties. This flower was said to hold many healing properties and could be what they needed to save Stasia. Yeah, I think that sounds better. I'm going to change that. So next time I have to read this, I don't make that mistake 20 times. Synthro set out right away, and despite the impossibility of this flower's retrieval, Synthro was able to return with it in just a day. Synthro's bad luck would continue, though, as Stasia passed away while he was getting the flower. The death of Stasia caused an immediate change in Synthro that would last forever. It wasn't even a downward spiral or an emotional break. It was an instant change. Like someone flipped a switch and Synthro went from a hero to a monster. In the initial moment of this transformation, Synthro slaughtered the healers watching over Stasia. When the massacre was done, he buried Stasia with the flower. If she could not receive the healing from it, then no one would. It's kind of a jerk move to do, because he's the only one who could actually retrieve it in the first place. Synthro's unhinged rampage would continue, as he would attack any locations with libraries or books on Chroma in an effort to find information on how he could bring Stasia back to life. Along the way, when researching these books, Synthro found out that there were geothermal bombs lying dormant beneath the earth. If he could not bring Stasia back into the world, then he would at least get revenge on the planet itself. Synthro set out to put a plan in motion to access these dormant geothermal bombs and use them to destroy the world. Unaware of all of Synthro's plans, the leaders of the kingdoms of Chroma reached out to Reiyo. If anyone could stop Synthro's sudden rampage, it would be Reiyo. Despite being where the demons roamed on Chroma, Dexlar had one of the largest libraries and most likely contained the type of spells needed for resurrection. Reiyo assumed Synthro would head there next, and was correct in his assumption. A small hill overseeing Dexlar seemed like the perfect place for someone to drop in, so Reiyo waited for Synthro there. Synthro showed up shortly after, demanding Reiyo get out of his way, but Reiyo could not do it. He could not let Synthro continue down this path. The two legends stood face to face, weapons drawn, and the fate of the world on the line.